The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints of national security. And the question remains whether those restraints need to be more strictly observed if we are to oppose this kind of attack as well as outright invasion.
The media still claims that Hitler rolled into Austria with tanks and guns and took us over. Not true at all. The fact is, the Austrian people elected Hitler by 98% of the vote by means of the ballot box. He talked like an American politician. The year was 1938. Austria was in a very, very deep depression. We had more than 30% unemployment. Businesses were going broke. They could not pay their mortgage or they could not pay their taxes. The media told us that in Germany, where Hitler ruled since 1933, they had full employment, they had a high living standard, and everybody was driving the little beetle car, the Volkswagen. We did not hear a whisper that anybody was being persecuted or arrested. We only heard good things. And we said, why not? The Austrian people petitioned the government for an election. And hence, the Austrian people elected Hitler by 98% of the vote. So we got a new government, National Socialism. I translate for you, Nationalsozialismus, from the word national, the word Nazi derived. So we were getting a Nazi government. Well, we thought they would only pick the very best people to govern us. Just like in Germany, we trusted them. We did not ask questions. So the first thing what happened, we had to carry national ID cards. You could not board a bus, you could not board a train without showing your national ID card. Don't ever let that happen here. Very bad idea.
Well, thousands of people in Maryland are at risk of having an out-of-date driver's license or identification card. And that's because a June 1st deadline is approaching for the first wave of people who need to comply with the federal Real ID laws.
Well, Rick, you're going to start hearing a lot more about this Real ID law. Driving aside, if you don't have your documents on file, you won't be able to fly domestically.
We also had gun control. The government said that children were playing with guns, and we had hunting accidents, people accidentally shooting each other, and we had criminals again.
An active shooter on the loose, terrorizing families shopping at back-to-school sales. These chilling images captured the gunman on Walmart surveillance cameras, wearing ear protection and carrying an AK-47 style rifle. A local school was set up as a reunification site, but hours later, people were still looking for loved ones.
All I want to do is find my mom. Somebody needs to tell me where she is. I want to know if she's dead or alive or if she's still in Walmart.
And it was still a long line to get into the club. Once we got to the end of the line, which is near the corner, you heard one gunshot. You heard boom. So we looking around, we didn't know what it was. It didn't sound like a familiar sound, and the buildings around here made it kind of echo off. And then you hear a second boom, and then after that it's complete rapid fire, just for like 1 minute.
Murderers. The only way that they could track the murderer was by the serial number of the gun. So bring your gun to the police station, then we can register the serial number and we can track the criminal. And we thought that was a good idea. Gladly we did that.
Some other Republicans blame video games. And of course, there are zero studies that link video games to gun violence. And they play video games all over the world. This is the only place where this happens regularly. Video games have not been linked to gun violence. But you know what is linked to gun violence? Guns are linked to gun violence.
Not long afterwards, they said no, it did not help. We could not track all the criminals. The best way to have no more crimes and no more people getting hurt, bring your guns to the police station. They already know who had guns because we registered our guns. Keep your guns and buy more guns and stack up on your ammo. A gun is no good if you don't have any ammo. Dictatorship did not happen overnight. It took 5 years, from 1938 until 1943, we had a full-blown dictatorship. Had we kept our guns, we would have fought a bloody battle to the last men and women to keep our freedom. But we had no guns.
We know the facts are very different about what those scientists were involved in at the end of the war in what was called the Nordhausen slave labor factory. Deep in the tunnels, you had concentration camp prisoners building the V-2 rocket.
In the wake of World War II, the U.S. government is engaged in a large number of secret medical experiments designed to help win the Cold War, developing techniques for mind control to create a so-called Manchurian candidate. How did the CIA become involved in such far-reaching and disturbing research? The new goal is to cause an individual to become subservient to an imposed control, to the point where he will perform acts against his will and then have no memory of the act. The search for a real-life Manchurian candidate begins. To produce such an assassin, the CIA faces two main challenges: how to induce amnesia and how to program in new behavior. In 1957, Dr. Ewan Cameron, an eminent psychiatrist in Montreal, believes he has the answers. Cameron applies his techniques under the guise of normal therapy.
It was a three-part technique which started with an effort to wipe out past patterns of behavior. And this was accomplished through the use of particularly intensive, repeated, high-level electroshocks until no more convulsions could be elicited from a patient.
Cameron then plays tape-recorded messages through helmets that are locked to his patients' heads. This psychic driving forces them to listen to repetitive statements for weeks on end to program in new behavior.
Now, the final phase was to try to wipe out all recollection of what had happened, and that was accomplished by putting people to sleep for 30, 40 days, accompanied by different kinds of cocktails of drugs.
Very progressive, listen. Mandelbrot set is in motion. Echo choir has been breached.
Is that a lyric from something?
Hey, stop doing stuff to my car.
Agent Howell has been activated. He killed 2 operatives with a spoon, sir.
A spoon? What? We're terminating Asset Howell.
Why are there men in hazmat suits?
Thanks to your actions, 2 CIA assets are dead. Did you say
something very weird is happening to me? I keep killing people. There's a chance I may be a robot.
You're not a robot.
This guy, he's a trained killer. We made him. He's a security risk.
or take my car.
Selective memory or a coached response?
The alleged gunman in the Antioch church shooting took the stand today to answer some tough questions. Emmanuel Sampson told the jury that he remembered shooting himself but not anyone else.
That's right. And also, he did take the stand, especially when the defense had no medical experts.
So where were you when you remembered shooting yourself?
I was in the middle of the church.
As the final witness to take the stand in his trial, Emmanuel Sampson remembers the moment he shot himself inside the Burnett Chapel Church of Christ. But to the prosecution's frustration, he doesn't seem to remember anything else. Not firing the gun that belongs to his cousin or putting on the mask and tactile vest.
Do you remember shooting Melanie Crow?
I do not.
Do you remember shooting Pastor Joey Spann?
I do not.
He does remember driving around to clear his mind and having thoughts of suicide. Weeks leading up to the shooting, Sampson testified having hallucinations and feeling depressed.
I just wanted to end my life. I was extremely depressive and I felt kind of numb.
His mood would change drastically, according to his then-girlfriend, who also took the stand. Maya Hill says they had an ongoing fight from the night before and found what she thought was a suicide note from Sampson.
Megan Murphy for Newsy. Colorado theater shooting suspect James Holmes is reportedly claiming he does not know why he's in jail. That's according to a new report from the New York Daily News, which says Holmes keeps asking jailhouse workers, quote, "Why am I here?"
So understand what's going on around you. You are not living at a time of peace. You are in a state of war. And you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There's not much time left for convulsions to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon. And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant. But I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocy as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system. You may ask me, what is it in for me? Survival, obviously, because unlike, as I said, I am now in your boat. If we sing together, we will sing beautifully together. There is no other place on this planet to be effective.
Perhaps there is no answer to the dilemma faced by a free and open society in a cold and secret war. In times of peace, any discussion of this subject and any action that results are both painful and without precedent. But this is a time of peace and peril which knows no precedent in history. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news. It was early in the 17th century that Francis Bacon remarked on three recent inventions already transforming the world: the compass, gunpowder, and the printing press. Now the links between the nations, first forged by the compass, have made us all citizens of the world, the hopes and threats of one becoming the hopes and threats of us all. In that one world's effort to live together, the evolution of gunpowder to its ultimate limit has warned mankind of the terrible consequences of failure. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
From its source and descent into the realm of matter is described as involution. Any movement back toward the source is called evolution. The cosmic context of involution and evolution, when viewed as the path taken on the soul's journey away from and back to the Creator, will be an important consideration when we later consider the creation and evolution of life on Earth. The typical portrayal of involution is a descending arc. Evolution begins as the point when the soul realizes its self-imposed isolation and chooses to move back to the companionship with its source. Whereas involution is a slippery slope, the long evolutionary journey of the soul back to its source is a lesson in patience. It is not at all clear when the souls began the descent into the physical universe. Although the initial burst of the Big Bang was apparently over in only a few brief moments, It took billions of years for matter to condense into the galaxies, solar systems, and planets that we can now perceive. The wandering souls explored many systems within the galaxies of the cosmos. Initially, a close connection with the spiritual realm was maintained. With the lowering of the vibratory energy rate that resulted from some souls' increasing involvement in the relative denseness of matter, the consciousness of the soaring souls drifted farther and farther away from the awareness of the spiritual first cause. When asked what it is about other systems within our universe that attracts souls, Edgar Cayce replied that it is the diversity of experience that such systems provide that meets the needs of each idiosyncratic soul. Cayce went on to explain that there are millions of such systems within the universe. To facilitate the passage of souls between these systems, there are centers that function as cosmic portals. Scientists have hypothesized the existence of wormholes in the space-time continuum that can allow for almost instantaneous transport across the astronomical distances of the universe.